Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to chapel also. I thank you for coming in so respectfully and quietly, especially after we've been away for a break for a while. Sometimes it's hard to get back into the swing of things, the routines of Cardigan, but you did that just beautifully. And I want to point out something that I noticed as you guys were coming in. First of all, I want you to listen for a minute. Do you hear that? You could hear a pin drop. That expression means that if I'd had a little pin and I dropped it in this huge chapel, we could all hear it. Hear it when it hit the floor. This, what we have right now, my friends, is known as strong silence. It's silence that you choose for yourself. Strong silence is also stillness. It's deliberate stillness and self-disciplined silence. By contrast, weak silence is the kind that characterizes a lot of our time, especially in schools. Weak silence is brought on, it's imposed really by a teacher or a coach or by somebody saying shh, or using a loud voice, gentlemen, be quiet. That causes weak silence, and generally weak silence in a group setting falls apart pretty quickly because it's dependent on one person enforcing it. But strong silence is never a punishment. It is voluntary, and it has strength of numbers. Every person in the room contributes to it. Every person enforces it with intention and discipline. Just like right now, we together are holding strong silence. Now, this is a mindfulness discipline that you have developed with practice over the past several months. What I wanted to point out to you is that strong silence like this was not possible in September or October, just a few months ago. But now it has become a habit for you. Now, this is a big deal. That's because many adults cannot hold strong silence without fidgeting uncomfortably or reaching for their cell phone when it's been too long of a time. There's a researcher named Helen Lees who studies strong silence, and she argues persuasively that when students like you are given regular opportunities for reflection, your ability to focus improves significantly. Your stress levels reduce, and your ability to express sympathy and empathy towards one another is enhanced. All of this has a positive effect on not only your academic work, but your athletic performance and on your spiritual well-being, on your mind, body, and spirit. So I don't want you to miss the fact that you have developed this amazing ability and that you are employing it effectively and voluntarily. This kind of self-discipline will be especially useful to us as we enter the next month of our hero's journey. Before the winter break, we talked about the cracks that were beginning to develop. Remember the trials, tribulations, temptations? All of the dorms were off bounds right before we left. Things seemed to be beginning to unravel a bit. Now, those who have been at Cardigan a long time will tell us that we are entering the time of year when the cracks can widen and the culture begins to break apart a bit. Pieces start breaking off, falling to the ground. This is the time when we have to band together to help one another stay focused and strong. Just as we are now holding strong silence, right now, every one of us is needed to be as self-disciplined as he or she can be, not only to keep ourselves on the right track, but also to help sustain the strength of our community. But how is it that we're going to keep going? What can help us stay strong in the winter weeks ahead? Where is our help? One thing we can and will do is to ask God for the strength to carry on through storm or weather fare. And we can also encourage each other by offering one another positive feedback and genuine praise. Why? Why would we do this? Because this is the time of year when we tend to be very critical of ourselves, to see ourselves in a negative light. For instance, have you ever known a friend of yours who you know feels insecure, or like he's not smart enough, or like he's not skilled enough, even though you can see that he is actually doing just fine? If you can honestly compliment your friend in accurate and honest detail, then you are providing him with a glimpse of his best self as seen through your eyes. That's powerful. But giving compliments and praise is not always easy. Neither is accepting praise. So as we continue our exploration of masculinity and what it really means to be a man, we're going to explore the power of praise. And I'm happy to welcome today our speaker on behalf of the mentors, Mr. Sinclair, who will be addressing this subject in a few minutes. I also want to thank Ms. Hamill's advisory group for welcoming us warmly into chapel today. And I want to thank Michael Zhao, who will offer today's gift of music.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, Andres and I, as your chapel assistants, set an ambitious goal at the beginning of the year. We noticed that last year's chapel assistants tended to do things themselves, rather than to encourage others to take leadership in the spiritual life of our school. In the case of expressing gratitude before meals, they spoke on behalf of the community, which was fine. They did their job well, faithfully, and dependably. But Andres and I did not want to simply speak on behalf of our community. We wanted to encourage people, as many people as possible, to share the experience of publicly expressing thanks that we all share here on the Point.
We are pleased to report that from the beginning of the school year until now, 106 students, faculty members, and trustees have served our community by offering blessings before meals. We had also had 16 advisory groups volunteer to serve as greeters in chapel. If you have either offered a blessing or greeted in chapel, please stand up now. What you did not know when you volunteered is that now February would be awarding dorm points to all of you to show our appreciation for your courage and willingness to serve. You guys can sit down now. I'm sure your dorm mates are grateful to you, and so are we. Please join me in a round of applause to thank these people for their service to our community.
But now, we're going to raise the stakes. We're going to ask people who have not had a chance to say the blessing before meals to consider doing so in the coming weeks. Now you may be thinking, am I not comfortable leading a prayer? That's fine. You don't have to lead a prayer. You can lead in a moment of silence in which you ask the community to simply think of one thing for which they can be grateful for. The point is for all of us to take a mindful pause before we sit down, to designate a moment to put things in perspective, and to notice how lucky we are to have so many good things in our lives.
So today we're kicking off 2 chapel challenges. The first challenge is to advisory groups who have not yet served as greeters. There are only 12 chapel services left this year, so we challenge you to email us today and get yourselves on the schedule. Greeting people as they enter the chapel is a great way to practice hospitality. and greeters also get reserved front seating in the chapel.
The second challenge is for faculty members only. This week, starting tonight, we challenge you or your family to sign up to offer the blessing or moment of silence or song or poem or any expression of gratitude in any language before every sit-down meal this week. How great would it be to see some of our little guys to be signing up and leading the blessing? You can sign up by emailing one of us or by signing up on the calendar at the podium in the dining hall. Boys, would you like to see our faculty members to courageously stepping up to the microphone this week? If so, let's give them a round of applause to encourage them to take the challenge.
Thank you, Andres and Jalen. Good afternoon, guys. Speaking of challenges, I have one for you in a moment. Normally, at the end of each chapel service, we take out the hymnals, we sing the Cardigan hymn, and we put them back. But as we've discovered a few times this year, there's actually other songs in these hymnals. And in a moment, we'll be singing one all together as a community. The couple of swing tips. Singing out of books is very, very common in a lot of faith traditions. And out of kind of respect for the process, out of respect for the music, out of respect for the people for whom the hymn we're about to sing is very, very important. One of the things we want to make sure that we do is when the hymn is over, we close the books very, very quietly and see if we can put them back and sit down without a single sound. And I wonder if we can, what do you think? Are you up to that challenge? I don't know, I'm not convinced. Are you up to that challenge? Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. On page 66, for the beauty of the earth, please rise. For the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the beauty of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for the gentle thoughts and mind. Lord of all, to thee we praise this our hymn of grateful praise. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Cardigan community. I've only spoken chapel twice in my 12 years of being at Cardigan, and both times were quite an emotional experience for me. And just being up here and seeing the boys open the curtain, some of those emotions come rushing back pretty quickly. The first time I was asked to say a few goodbye words to one of our Cardigan brothers. And the second time was the best day of my life, as I actually stood right about here and I pledged my love to Mrs. Sinclair on our wedding day. It was a great day. Headmaster McCusker stood right behind us and actually married Mrs. Sinclair and I, and we solidified our lifelong commitment to each other. As we continue our theme on masculinity and manhood this year, today I'm going to talk about giving and receiving praise. The person that I'm going to refer to sat right where Alex Sacklad's sitting on the day that Mrs. Sinclair and I got married. His name is Thomas Andrew Sinclair. He is my mentor, the person I admire the most, and he's also my father. My name, for those who don't know, is also Thomas. I go by Thomas Ryan, and our son Niven is also Thomas Niven. So it's a great honor for me to name my son after someone I care so much about. Now, my story that I tell you today may seem a little different from the words I'm sharing with you now, but I think it'll all come around and make sense. I want to share a little story about the relationship I had with my dad when I was about your age. I grew up in a very small, remote gold mining town way up in northern Ontario, Canada, called Kirkland Lake. For many of you in this room, you guys think Canaan is remote and rural. Well, I got news for you. It's a lot desolate, and the winters are long where I live. One way of letting people know if our town up in rural Canada is a big or small town, we do the McDonald's test. And basically, it's pretty simple. If your town's got a McDonald's, you're considered a town. Well, when I was your age, we definitely didn't have a McDonald's. The reason I describe Kirkland Lake to you, and that it is a small town, is that it only had one high school, where both my parents taught for 35 years. They were also coaches as well. So I had my dad and mom as high school teachers, as well as my father as a minor hockey coach. Well, my dad was a great teacher, and he still is an amazing hockey coach, but our father and son relationship really struggled. Let me explain why. I spent a lot of time playing hockey. My brother and I built this amazing rink in our backyard. We'd spend hours shoveling it, flooding it, getting ready. And where I live, winter is almost 6 months long, so I basically had access to a hockey rink 6 months of the year. Of course, as long as my mom approved that our homework was completed. By no means do I want to sound arrogant when I say this, but when I was your age, I was a very skilled hockey player. Whether I scored all the goals for my team in a game or won a tournament's MVP, it seemed nothing was good enough to impress my father, who was also my coach. Not even a good game, son, or you worked hard, or nice play. This really hurt. When I left home when I was 16 years old to play junior hockey in Toronto, I really struggled throughout my teenage years. I didn't think I was a good athlete, I didn't think I was a good student, and I really lacked a lot of confidence. I made poor decisions because I thought that I'd be more socially accepted, or that I was a cool kid if I did these things. However, I'll never forget the day that I was accepted to Dartmouth College. My father said 4 little words to me that absolutely changed my life. I'm proud of you. 4 simple little words as I'm about to approach 21 years old. I'm proud of you. And it meant the world to me. As many of my 8th and 9th grade students know, we talk a lot about the importance of communication skills when you're finding your path to leadership. One of the most powerful forms of communication is genuine praise. When done properly, praise can alter someone's self-image, praise can build confidence, and at the very least, it can make someone's day better. Now, there are 3 very simple, basic elements to praise. 1, you should name the person that you're going to praise. 2, be specific. What you saw them do, where it was, when it happened. And 3, sincerity. So let's get these down. Name the person that you're going to praise, be specific, and be sincere. Pretty simple. Raise your hand if you remember Travis Heap's chapel talk early this fall. Keep your hand up, please. Keep your hand raised if you shook his hand after chapel and said something along the lines of like, great job, Travis, or awesome speech, or that was good. Okay, nice. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands raised at some point on another day you went looking for Travis and you mentioned something specific about what he said and genuinely praised him for his words. Okay, still some hands. That's awesome to see. But as you guys saw, many hands went down. I know that I got to this point a few days later and I said something like to Travis down the Hopkins hallway, like, great speech, Travis. But I still was not giving Travis the praise that he deserved. It wasn't until Travis asked me to write his personal recommendation for his secondary schools that I took time to reflect on his chapel talk that really moved me. So where's Travis? Is he here? Put your hand up, Travis. Oh, there he is, top shelf. Okay, Travis is here. Travis, I want to let you know that your chapel speech from the fall was really powerful. I was able to relate to you growing up in a blue-collar town, and I admire the risk you took sharing something that was so personal in your life with the entire Cardigan community. It was really brave, and I admire you for doing it. I feel we do a really good job here at Cardigan, praising one another. We do this in many public settings, whether it's Athlete of the Week, Student of the Month, or Up-and-Coming Heart of the Cougar. I'm sure many of you guys don't know this, but the faculty also do this. We have faculty meetings on some Thursdays, and we offer a Coke and a compliment. Very simple. There's 6 Cokes set up on the stage, and as you walk in, you grab a Coke, and then you open up, when everyone gets there, you say a little speech about the person that you want to give the Coke to, and you compliment them. That is another form of praise. We mention the person's name, very specific what they did, and we're always sincere when we announce who's getting the Coke. So for faculty in the room, please raise your hand if you've ever given out or received a Coke. Okay, great. Now keep your hands raised if you may have kind of felt uncomfortable, or if you thought, well, I'm kind of just doing my job. Amazing, look at that. So as you guys can see, even adults struggle receiving praise or feel uncomfortable. And it's a skill that you really got to practice, and it's a skill that you really have to work at. So let's review the basics of steps again of giving praise. Their name, be specific, and be sincere. Their name. You should always address a person by their name because it always conveys respect. Believe it or not, hearing the sound of your own name means someone's noticed me. If you start a sentence with someone's name, you're starting off on the right foot. The specifics. If your praise is vague, it can sound insincere. As you start to praise more, you'll frequently encounter people resisting your praise. They'll say like, it was nothing, or, don't worry about it. And maybe deep down, they don't think they deserve praise, but if you are extremely specific, you can bypass that resistance. Sincerity. You should only give praise that you actually mean. Think about a time when you've earned praise from someone that you've really respected. You value that praise because you value the person giving it to you. And you value that praise because you trust the sincerity of the person giving it. Never try to fake sincerity. The worst thing that might happen is you succeed and you get good at it, and of course you'll be undermining one of our core values of integrity. So let's contrast these two statements. Hey, Mr. Holt, you are awesome. Versus, Mr. Holt, I really enjoyed crossing your path in the main office the week before break. I wasn't having the best of days, and exchanging a few simple words with you made me feel energized and ready to tackle the day ahead. I really appreciate your positive nature, your growth mindset, and I hope that one day I can model this on a regular basis. I hope it's clear to you guys that the first statement is kind of ineffective. But in the second statement, it demonstrates those 3 things. Knowing Mr. Holt's name, well, that was pretty easy. I remember his actions. I was being specific by remembering his actions and anchoring the praise with specific time, place, other details, which hopefully Mr. Holt will allow to believe me. Mr. Holt, was that sincere?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Now let me offer you one word of warning. Because praise is powerful, it's also very dangerous. If you give someone praise that they don't truly think they deserve, you can make them feel much worse than saying nothing. So be careful. Learning to give and receive praise is a difficult skill that needs to be practiced, refined, and practiced again. But believe it or not, it's really the backbone of a close-knit community like ours. So in closing, here's my challenge to both students and adults in the Cardigan community. Not today, not tomorrow, even this week, but at some point before you leave Cardigan's campus for the final time, make sure you offer genuine praise to someone and truly accept praise from someone else in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael, for your gift of music. We would like to recognize two boys for being nominated for Heart of the Cougar this month, Esteban Lopez and Oliver Cookson. Esteban is extremely helpful in the dorm. If the floor leader is gone, Esteban steps up and takes the role as the floor leader. Many times this is done without being asked. He goes out of his way to help boys who need help with his dorm jobs and is a positive presence on our floor. Esteban juggles many responsibilities on campus and does so with a smile on his face, a positive attitude and enthusiasm for helping the other fellow. Oliver Cookson helped out a Cardigan brother during a very difficult time. He showed a great deal of compassion, poise, and empathy as one of his friends needed a little extra support. Oliver acted instinctively with ready kindness, maturity, and discretion. Instead of choosing to be a quiet bystander, Oliver chose to have the heart of a cougar and bravely extended his friendship to another brother. Congratulations, Esteban and Oliver, for your nominations. Austin will now present this month's Heart of the Cougar Award.
Thanks, Jack. The Cardigan Wrestling Tournament requires a tremendous amount of effort to set up, operate, and take down. Despite the careful planning of the organizers, there are always details that need to be covered to make the event a success. On the day of the wrestling tournament, one student in particular recognized that he could be useful at one of the scoring tables and offered to help. He is not a member of the Cardigan wrestling team, but the team sure felt like he was that day. He learned his role quickly, and he was the right guy for the job. He worked all day long without a break. When the tournament was over, this student was one of the last to leave. He helped roll up and pack away mats, sweep floors, pick up trash, and do anything else that was needed. This student also demonstrated tremendous kindness, compassion, and patience when accompanied an injured Cardigan brother in the hospital when he was being evaluated for a concussion. The hospital staff described him as amazing, incredible, brilliant, and beyond with his injured friend. This helpful and big-hearted student is Cameron Sherman.
Thank you, Austin and Jack. Congratulations, Cam. At this time, please rise and join in the singing of the Cardigan hymn. To Cardigan, our favored school, by nature's gifts benign, we raise in song our thankfulness for beauty which is thine. For winter snow, for afterglow, when day fades into dreams of goals toward which we all will strive, to keep thy faiths alive, to keep thy faith in us alive. Together we will strive, as Cardigan is mirrored in our crystal lake so clear. May we through life reflect thy truths and memories as dear, of summer's green, fall's colors bright, of glimmering stars at night. God, give us strength to carry on through storm or weather fair, the peace vouchsafed by living here for all the world to share. Thank you.
Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return no evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Speak love with word and with deed. Amen.